Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is for those people who have their natal Jupiter in the 10th house of career and your public reputation. And this is quite a fortunate placement for Jupiter because Jupiter is a planet that is a benevolent influence. Of course, there are always the challenging aspects, even with these very fortunate types of influences from planets like Venus and Jupiter, because there can be an overindulgence, there can be, in the case of Jupiter, being overly optimistic, which means that the person doesn't really necessarily have sound judgment, like they always estimate that everything is going to go completely swimmingly when it sometimes meets with some kind of obstacles, and that can create some issues. So it's not like 100% always just everything is easy, but it certainly is a great situation, placement. And the 10th house is an angular house, and I didn't realize this. I got my information from advancedastrology.com. And, they were talking about the angular houses as it relates to manifesting things in the physical world. And that basically means that the first, fourth, seventh, and 10th houses have great impact on our life on the mundane level, on the worldly level, on the things that happen to us. Now, obviously, things can happen to us internally, but these are just like developments that we think of as important events in our life, in the outer world, I guess you would say. And the 10th house is the house of career. It's the house of your public reputation, your status in society. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, or we could say growth, opportunities, luck, whatever that means to you. I would just say positive vibes altogether. And also it's connected to morality, or you could say, and spirituality, if you want to separate the two, religion, whatever, philosophy, and abundance. So even on the monetary level. So suffice it to say, anybody who has Jupiter in the 10th house has the capacity to make a nice living for themselves. But what they were talking about that I found interesting was that, well, first of all, I already knew this, but I mean, if you have your Jupiter very close to the midheaven, because that's the cusp of the 10th house, and you'd have to pull up a chart to see that, you could see if it forms a conjunction with your midheaven, and then that would be even more likely to enhance some of these qualities that we're talking about here. But what they were saying that I didn't know, I'd never read before, is that as you get older, the midheaven becomes more influential. And I was trying to figure out the logic in that. The 10th house is ruled by Capricorn, and its ruler is Saturn. And Saturn is about, Saturn is father time. So there's always like the delay or the slow growth and eventually manifesting in that area. Career, like it takes time to develop. So I'm assuming that relates to people in general, that they become more and more like their midheaven. And that's interesting to me because I'm my midheaven is Aquarius, and Aquarius is associated with astrology. So that was one of the things that convinced me that I should be doing this. And I wasn't a spring chicken when I started doing it either. So I do feel that there might be some truth to what they're saying. So, in terms of your public image, you may be seen somehow tied to religion or spirituality, or we could say in general, any kind of positive thinking. And that could relate to what you do for a living. So, you could be like a life coach, even. I think of somebody like Tony Robbins because I noticed they mentioned philosophy here, and I thought, who in the world, has a profession with philosophy? I mean, yeah, there's college professors who teach philosophy, but I mean, just besides that, what would it be? And then I realized, yeah, the Tony Robbins of the world or the, Wayne Dyers of the world, they were philosophers in their own right because they were really taking life seriously, really analyzing or searching for the meaning of life, which to me is what philosophy is all about, and then creating their own belief system around what they think the meaning is and communicating it to others. So I would also add being inspirational to other people. I think of that as Jupiter as well. And I think this is enhanced if you have the sun in Sagittarius, because that is the sign that Jupiter rules. Or what else? I mean, maybe Pisces, something, or Aquarius that is intuitive or mystical. Maybe Scorpio, because Scorpio is all about transformation and those kinds of gurus, self-help gurus. They are really about transforming your mindset, transforming your life, or what have you. Morality is very important to you. So Jupiter really blows that up. I don't know exactly why they are, it's almost like personality traits versus image, although you may be seen as a very moral person, but ethical person. But, it's also within yourself. And to me, that would be more of your core personality traits, but maybe they're talking about that influence from the midheaven as you get older. And what I would say, and I didn't see anything, some of these things I kind of like I am interpreting in my own way and also adding to them, because I would say too that if your Jupiter is afflicted, you have to watch out for hypocrisy. This is true for Sag as well. My sun is in Sagittarius. Is this idea of being very preachy, but not really practicing what you preach. And you can be a great leader because maybe it's that larger than life quality of Jupiter that gives that person that kind of stature. And also just maybe having success, because you might be a great success, and therefore that qualifies you as a leader. Because, if you are, and then going back to this idea of being like a self-help guru, if you show that you are successful, people are more likely to believe you because you have a track record, So, you may achieve abundance through your career because of Jupiter's influence. And your career could be connected not only to spirituality or philosophy, religion, but also to international business. Of course, anything with travel, because Jupiter rules the ninth house, and that is connected to travel. And I would say, travel agencies apparently are kaput, they no longer exist. I remember always walking by this one travel agency near, in an adjacent town. And come to think of it, I don't think it exists anymore. And I assume it has to do with the internet and you can research things yourself. You don't need that middleman. But there are other things with travel. And for instance, one of the things I could think of that's perfect is this whole industry of teaching yoga in exotic places that combine a vacation with learning. And that is something that you might enjoy doing yourself. But in addition to that, that might be more of Jupiter in the ninth house, I guess. But in terms of teaching, because this can be one of the professions that you excel in is teaching, you want to couple that with an environment that is very exotic to you, and also can promote the subjects that interest you, such as spirituality. So yoga teacher. I think any kind of digital nomad, though, may qualify for this, because you are like, okay, I'll work remotely, but I want to do so in order to be able to have that freedom. Jupiter's about that freedom, but also that ability to travel and be able to work from wherever, whenever. And there was something else that I was thinking about that is connected to all of this, and now it escaped me. Foreign languages can be another one, but especially what I was going to say is a traveling professor. So Jupiter rules the ninth house. That can be higher education, so academia. But there are traveling professors that go overseas, and they might take up residence in some foreign university or college and teach over there, maybe teaching English as a second language. But yeah, that might be very appealing to you. Language in general is appealing. You may be well known. I was surprised they didn't say famous, although, you could say those are synonymous, but I mean, even like as a celebrity. But, and I was surprised I skimmed things, so maybe I didn't see it, but I didn't see the word popular mentioned. And well known, they mentioned charismatic. I would say popular, because Jupiter is jovial personality or image, and that lends itself to popularity. People like people who are likable, who are friendly and good-natured. So I'll add that one to the list. I mentioned delayed success, or success that comes from hard work, but if you have Jupiter here, you may get success a lot sooner than later. And you probably would feel very good about that. The 10th house is also authority figures. And this can be where you have positive experiences with them. Maybe they regard you in a good light. And I would say, even as you are growing up, that this could be the case, where you've always, maybe you were a teacher's pet, in class. And then you grow up to just have, but remember too, this is one of the things about life, is that it's also the person's mindset, their consciousness. If they have positive experiences, they will tend to give back in that way. So by the same token, if you have negative experiences with authority figures, rather than becoming rebellious and not cooperative, learning to examine those experiences and getting to the root of why you think they occurred, and being able to, kind of flip the script and not become knee-jerk, overreactive, that kind of thing can be quite helpful, because if your Jupiter is afflicted, it may not have gone like that. And I would say also, if you have a sign like Aries, that your sun sign, or inner planets in Aries like Mars in Aries, that's naturally rebellious, that can make it harder to be cooperative with people that you perceive as authority figures, because you want autonomy at any cost. Or Mars in conjunction with Uranus, or hard angles to Uranus. Mars with hard angles to Saturn, because Saturn is the ruler of the 10th house, so that can indicate the father wound. So if the person, didn't get along with their father, and if their father was an authority figure, that's the first authority figure. So that can play into it as well. And learning how to view these people, the problem is that a lot of times it's projecting negative experiences onto these people, and then it just kind of snowballs from there. I think it's very important for somebody with this placement not to take things for granted, because things might come easily at first, and then if the person has some kind of I don't know if you call it a setback, but it's not flowing the same way as it did before, they might be overly optimistic, and then that leads to being, too jaded when everything doesn't go that way, or maybe they get very careless. That might even be more of what I meant to say, is that they might get very careless about keeping things going, and not being grateful for the success that they have, where they respect it and they take it seriously, and they don't just assume it will always be there. So always, because again, Saturn rules this sector, and Saturn is about hard work. And yet, when we talk about the law of attraction, one of the things that really appeals to me is this idea that life doesn't have to be a struggle. And so I think that you can incorporate that concept into, having a career, if you have this placement, just not being neglectful, not being overly optimistic and taking it for granted, and always, making sure that you're doing your part, I think can ensure continued success. Okay, that's what I have for you. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.